understand my wishes in this matter, Master Huntsman?
I do, Your Majesty.
Tomorrow, as the shadows fall at dusk, take her far into the forest. Find some secluded glade where she can pick wildflowers.
Yes, Your Majesty.
And there, my faithful huntsman, you will kill her.
Kill her? Your Majesty, the little princess.
Silence. You know the penalty if you fail.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Kill her or die yourself. And to prove that you have done your part, bring back this casket, huntsman, and in it, Snow White's heart.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Disney Reel to Reel, a deep, deep, deep delve into the Disney animated canon. I'm Wyatt, and we're approaching election season in the U.S., and I have one request to make of some of you. Run! Run away! Hide! In the woods! Anywhere! Never come back! Now go! 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 Run! Run! Hide! Anywhere! But, until then, joining me today are my two besties, Christina and Joey, from When You Wish Upon a Podcast.
How's it going,
Hello. Guys? And yes, we are trying to run.
Yeah, oh my god, I'd quiver with fear. But until then, happier things, Halloween, Snow White, which is what we're talking about today. But before we get into that, I have to ask you guys, if you could be a fly on the wall for any moment in Disney history, what do you think it would be?
Ooh.
Fly on the wall moment? I would say, for me, like Disney animation or just the company?
At any point.
At any point?
I feel like I would love to be in the room when Walt first pitched the idea for We Love Disneyland. So when he first pitched the idea of Disneyland to his creative team. And it wasn't so much of like, this is an idea I have, let me think it through with Lillian or whoever. We're going to start this kind of huge project that's separate from film. I don't know. That's something I would have loved to hear.
With Herb Ryman?
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, it would be when Bob Iger had that meeting with George Lucas to buy Star Wars. Like, how that happened. Like, who called who approached who, that, just to see the whole process of, like, okay, so the negotiation of how much is going to be, and after he sold it, what does he still have, like rights over, and that whole thing, all the way leading up to that picture when they're like shaking hands and stuff. Yeah. That's what I would wanna.
Who offered who a can of Diet Coke as a peace offering? Yes.
Yeah, how about you?
Yeah.
Well, for me, I think it would be the premiere of Snow White at the Carthay Circle.
Yeah.
I want to see Clark Gable cried over a cartoon.
Right?
Yeah. I want to be in that room. I also want to be there for when Adriana Castellotti and Harry Stockwell snuck into the theater without tickets.
That is still insane to me. That is still insane. I get that they were trying to keep it like, these characters are real. Like, what are you talking about, voice actors? But that's still insane to me that they couldn't even be in the room.
I don't care if you're the witch. You're not getting in here without tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then to see them give him that standing ovation at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
An empire was born that night.
Mm-hmm.
Truly.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky in a sense that in San Francisco, right? They have the Disney Family Museum, and then you can see like one of the programs.
Yeah. Some of the merch and that they released at that time, and
so you can literally
glimpse.
Yeah, you can get some of it. Well, you can't get it, but you can see it. Yeah.
I think there's a Snow White blog who maybe put screenshots up at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get them digitally. That's something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But today we are here to talk about hearts, jars of them, boxes of them, whatever you wish. Hunters, growing up, and lots of screaming. Yeah. But yeah, I will actually save your memories and stuff like that about Snow White for your own episode, which I recommend people to check out. Your inaugural episode.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess we'll get into the sequence breakdown.
All right.
So we open on this probably 35, 40-year-old woman on her peacock throne. She's like, "You have been faithful to me, Huntsman, unnamed Huntsman, all these years. Well, now I would like for you to take my stepdaughter, who has been no threat to me at all, into the forest and just gut her. Gut her good."
Ooh, yeah.
And
Except Lucille Laverne does it way better than me. So
yeah, and not only that, she wants confirmation. You know, she wants the heart, which is, I guess, it's like that's a very kind of vague. Instead of saying like, "Bring me her head" or something.
I mean, I guess they didn't have iPhones to snap a picture.
But you know, it's like very like, "Bring me her heart."
A little checkmark emoji. Hit done.
oh my god.
Be back soon.
Sorry, really morbid.
Murder completed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh Lord. Well, here we are. But let's see. Better pull up my notes before I get ahead of myself. So, I totally forgot to mention. I shared with Christina and Joey this episode from the BBC World Service, a wonderful half-hour documentary called Snow White and the Seven Signs of Aging, which I will link in the show notes. And they referenced Anne Sexton's 1971 poem, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, in their analysis. And I feel that a lot of the criticisms that someone like Anne Sexton would give to the Snow White story about like how it objectifies people and elevates their status without them showing like character or personality or whatever. I feel like that's true of the grim Snow White, but I think Disney turns her into something different.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, I don't think she is the kind of person that would just be like, you know, "Oh, I'm pretty and people help me out because I'm pretty." It's because I actually go out and I contribute and I cultivate relationships and I open my heart to people so they can help me grow.
You had your day. You had your years of 20-somethings. And you know, it can't go on forever. And realizing, you know, that you can't just be this shallow beauty queen. You have to cultivate your heart. You have to cultivate friendships. You're going to have something to fall back on, because you're not always going to get to be that leading lady, that ingenue. You know, if we could love each other and allow each other to be beautiful and try to see each other's beauty and celebrate it instead of hate it. Hating another woman is basically self-hatred.
Right. And I think that's been one of our assumptions, is when the queen says who is the fairest of them all, we don't necessarily think she just means like who's the most beautiful, who has the best hair. Like, she means like it means overall, like who is, you know, the most beautiful, but also in like her soul, like who actually is beautiful in who they are as a person.
I guess if I were to quote the Kingdom Hearts series, it would be, "Who is the heart of pure light?"
Oh, nice. I like that reference.
Yeah. They really fucked up Snow White in that canon, but we're not going to talk about that.
No, and I was going to say, it goes into, like, it's so, my opinion, so psychological, because there's so much subtext in the movie. So now, right, I feel like it's with the whole internet, people want like clicks and instant gratification. And then
Yeah.
so people are ready to be like, okay, do we hate it or do we love it? Or are you with them or you're with us? Or what, even like when it gets political, like left or right, right? You choose. Well, let me think about it. No, you gotta think, you gotta choose left or right. So when it comes to Snow White, um, if you watch the movie and really pay attention, the whole fairness of the mall is not just about beauty because it's represented through um, Grumpy, because he doesn't like her. Everybody's like, "Oh, she's so beautiful and stuff," but he doesn't like her until later when he kind of falls in love with her and all these things because of how the way she is. So then that right there tells you it's not just about her being beautiful. It's like the way she, like you said, treats people and everything. And on the flip side, doesn't he mention the queen and say she's so evil?
She's a witch.
She's a witch. So it's right. It's in the movie. So if people watch the movie and just take away, oh, well, because she's pretty, that's why they all like her. Grumpy doesn't like her in the beginning.
But he has no reason to hate her.
Well, that's true. But I feel like
that's his default, though. He immediately hates you, and then you have to win him over. And she.
But it is a bit.
Yeah.
It is a bit like male chauvinist. Where it's
that's like, a whole.
Just hold out, and you'll get him to like you.
Yeah, that could be a whole another episode of. Just
that will be
grumpy.
A whole other episode for me.
Yeah. There's so much you can take. Again, great movie because it's not just like, oh, it was good, and then that's it,
There is so much to talk about. Speaking of which, okay, let's see. We talked about her wanting to kill her. She brings out this ornate heart box. Which apparently you can buy from the Disney store to like store jewelry in.
Oh yeah, yeah. You always see it when we went to the parks. Yeah. I think we always see that box.
Yeah, cute. If you can own it, that's a real power move.
Yeah,
yeah. But moving on. Also, we didn't mention that like the Queen is apparently reaching middle age for the 1500s or whatever. But I think today her demeanor kind of comes off like Faye Dunaway in Mommy Dearest.
Oh, it's been so long since I've seen that, but yes.
It is a little bit like, no wire hangers! But I love that. Anyway, then we cut to this field, and Snow White's been told to have the best day ever, picking flowers. She's like, oh, things are going great. I met this man. I'm in this sweet dress. I'm getting flowers. And, and then she finds this lost baby bird. And we get into the section that Walt and the story team really was struggling with for like multiple meetings, trying to figure out how best to stage this sequence so that it's like you show off Snow White's innocence and her compassion, but also show the impact of the Huntsman coming behind her to like kill her and stuff. One of his comments was, quote, "It should be a little baby bird to parallel her own situation, which her dialogue would plant. I felt that maybe there was value in building with her to the point where the little bird is sick. Snow White is with this little bird. She is stooped over, which gives you a swell position for the knife in the back. Let the menace come in there while she is still with the bird. Just at that point, with some connection where she kissed the bird, and the bird perked up and flew away. It has a connection for the Huntsman to soften." Unquote.
Yeah, you see that to me that goes back into, it's not just because she's beautiful. It's in that clip that we saw.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that they said was the contrast of he's in shadow, he's in the same shot, he's in shadow all the way to the right, and you can see the grim situation of what he has to do, and then her in the forefront, all bubbly and like it's like light and stuff. So you kind of see that like, oh, like that tension, and then when he sees that the way she is with the little bird, that's when he's like this, he's like, I can't. This person's like, she's a good person. She doesn't deserve this. And again, it goes into, oh well, he didn't kill her because she's so pretty. No, he killed her. He didn't kill her because of the way, because of the inner beauty. So, yeah, I really love that contrast and the way they were talking about it, and the way they said, "What if it's just a shadow of him?"
Yeah,
And
because
then,
I think they were debating whether they should give him more, I guess, screen time, more detail, more as a character. But I think it wasn't about him necessarily. It's about building that moment, building that suspense, and then ultimately why he doesn't end up doing it is that's the key moment.
Which I find to be really interesting because our previous scene with Snow White had her mostly isolated until the prince showed up. And it was basically introducing what she wanted before we got a chance to know her. And so I wonder if this scene is kind of making up for that in a way, to show that, like, show her character in a situation that leads us to believe that she really doesn't deserve this.
Yeah. The way you construct the character and have them, like, have the audience like appeal to them is one of the strongest ways is motivation. So like she wants love, so right away it's telling us, oh, like that's what she wants, and it's something that we all kind of want. So we already like agree with like, okay, go get it. And then after you see like, oh, it sets up what she wants, and then after it tells us why she deserves it. So then I feel
But
like
I'm thinking, like, if you compare it to a movie like Little Mermaid or Princess and the Frog, then it's like we know who they are before we know what they want. But in Snow White, it's the other way around.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Because the only visual hint we have that she's a good person in the initial sequence is that she's accompanied by doves.
Yeah.
Which are a symbol of, like, purity and innocence and all that.
Yeah, very angelic, which we also later get when she's praying before she goes to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that scene when we saw it. I was like, oh, you never really see that anymore.
Well, if you do, it's that they're wishing on stars. They're not praying.
Right.
Well, yeah,
right.
yeah. I mean, like very specific like that. Or it's like the Mother Willow, or it's when Mufasa, R.I.P. When Simba talks to him, But that's a very, when we saw that, I was like, oh, is she just praying?
Yeah.
Like, is she just praying? Like, how we would pray? And yeah, so
again, it reflects the times. That wouldn't make it into a Disney movie nowadays.
Even as sweet as it is. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. Crap, where do we go from here? Also in the last episode, I referenced Victoria Schmidt's Heroine's Journey narrative arc because I was getting tired of people thinking that Snow White's main goal and her course of action involved a man, and I was like, I'm getting really tired of that. So I introduced this arc in the last episode, and yes, it's very broad. It can apply to lots of female characters, and it was conceived in 2001. I still think it fits her arc pretty nicely. Check out Anne Kelgish's YouTube video for more information. But the second step in the journey is the betrayal, where, quote, the heroine's coping strategies fall apart either because they are betrayed by someone, because they realize their coping strategy is toxic or ineffective, or because they realize their assumed world is not what they thought. So in the beginning, that step is known as the illusion of the perfect world. So for Snow White, that means that, sure, she may be isolated in a castle, but she still holds on to this dream of being happy and in a relationship. Even though she's not really getting anywhere until that fateful day when the wishing well somehow they turn the right crank to bring a prince along the way. But and then in this section, she checks 2 of these boxes because A, she finds out her stepmother wants to take a hit out on her, and now she has no home to escape to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I think you can gloss over this part of the film because you're like, well, it's a cartoon, and of course something has to happen to her, and we get the backstory of how evil the queen is. But her whole life, her whole viewpoint has to shift at that point. Everything that she knew is completely on its head now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty devastating. I would imagine.
I mean, think about it. You were just singing the song Venus into a well. Your future husband showed up.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is going to be the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Bring it on. And then the next day, your childhood caretaker is like, hey, put on your best dress. We're going to go pick flowers for a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, sounds good. Oh my gosh, isn't this the best 24 hours? And then you see this bird because you're connected to nature. And you're like, oh my gosh, you poor thing. Let's find your parents.
Yeah. And everything just changes for her. And it's interesting because she doesn't necessarily change. Her life completely changes, but she does not. Her loving, sense of being is, she's still that. So I think that's really interesting too. Again, I know as a kid I glossed over that. I'm like, well, of course she has to go through stuff because it's a movie.
Because it's a narrative, yeah.
Right. And of course I pretended to be Snow White running through the woods as a kid all the time. And so as an adult watching it, I'm like, that's pretty devastating. That's really dark.
Yeah. Also, I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I still remember holding the vid cam in my hand. You know, the one that had like the flap that you have to open up
Yes.
the side? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember literally saying, I'm the Huntsman, to a bunch of people that weren't even on the same page with me. So I was like,
what?
Yeah, I was a weird child.
Same.
Yeah. But excuse me. But then and then she gets told to run like anyone during election season should. And as she runs, her imagination gets the better of her, and we enter this art movement that the Disney studio is pulling from at this time called German Expressionism. And the conceit of it was basically to use color and warped imagery to convey the character's intense emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 films that I've heard of that I haven't watched that utilize this to great effect are Robert Wine's 1921, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu from 1922, and Fritz Lang's 1927 film Metropolis.
Oh, okay.
Surely you guys know about Nosferatu because SpongeBob referenced it? If that was you on the phone and you on the bus, then who was flickering the lights?
We love a SpongeBob reference.
I know. You know, those people were really in the know.
They really were.
I miss Steven is it Hillenburg?
I think, yeah, Hillenburg.
Okay, I miss him so much.
Yeah. I think we watched like an episode or like one of the newer SpongeBob movies was playing once that my niece or my nephew was watching. We're like, what? This, like, it's not funny. It's not relevant to anything. Makes no sense. Why is this a thing? Who spent time animating this? It used to be so good. But yeah, sorry. We'll go off on a SpongeBob tangent.
All I will say is everyone just get to season 3 or 4 and then just cut it off.
Yeah.
So, like, when you mentioned it, I did draw the connection to Snow White when she is in the forest, and then like how that represents her unraveling psychologically with like everything is against me, like like my evil stepmother is trying to kill me, and then the guy who took care of me almost tried to kill me.
Is what I'm seeing actually what I am seeing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and
have I been putting my trust in the right people or not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that like you said, like that betrayal. And then it goes into that, like, when you're in the woods, I don't know what you would be, but when you're in the woods at night, or like when you're at your house and it's like nighttime, like 2 a.m, you get up to get something to drink, and you hear like a creak somewhere, and it's just like the water heater or something, but for all you know, it's a person. So you're like, what the hell was that? So it's like she's in the forest and she sees monsters, but they're just trees in shadow, So that unraveling of, like, you're just panicking. You're just thinking the worst of everything because of what happened.
The 1930s version of a panic attack.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because she even faints. Yeah. So
she falls through, almost like that feeling of when your blood rushes to your feet, where you're like, oh, everything is wrong right now. Yeah.
I actually had something similar like that happen, I think a day or two ago. I was walking a trail, and there was this guy walking his dog. He was about like a half mile ahead of me. And then I came to the spot where I saw him the first time, and he was gone. And then I went off ways further, because the trail ends in like a roundabout, and you go turn around especially if you're on a bicycle. And I never saw him again.
Oh.
And there's no way he would have gone somewhere else?
Well, there was like an alternate pathway in the middle of the trail, but it led into the same spot, and I never saw him or his dog.
Oh my god.
And I was like, oh my god, I need to flee!
Yeah.
You're like, finally I can reenact. But I'm actually freaking out. That's pretty scary.
Another SpongeBob reference. I gotta get out of here!
Oh man.
What's he doing? Nothing. Just standing there. Menacingly. But yeah, no, that's creepy. I don't know if it's scarier, like to know that he was there, or to know that he wasn't there. To be.
It was scary to know that was like a recently paved trail, and it had like the opening ceremony, the ribbon cutting, and all that stuff. Like, it's a town. It's an urban made trail, and that still like weird shit is happening on it.
Oh man.
Not that actually anything weird happened, but like
the guy's like, I just took a different path.
Yeah. He's gone forever.
Maybe he was like relieving himself behind a tree or something.
Oh, and you're all scared. Like, why is that guy scared?
Oh my god, don't even get me started. We've been hearing reports of people like shitting on that trail.
Oh no.
Like, not on it, but like, yeah.
Oh no. How long is this trail?
Like a mile? Not even that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I don't know.
It's like along a river. It goes through some woods, but like it's all pretty like straightforward, and like,
I was gonna say, you should have enough time, right, to be like, okay, I have to go. Like,
and not a lot of people walk it.
No.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe that's why. Oh my god! Happy Halloween, everybody!
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say that's a cool. Like, I know it's scary at the time, but when you can like, so last year I went on this trail around Halloween. It's like that story you can tell. It's cool.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh yeah. Let's see. Anything else in the notes? I have another anecdote from Marge Champion, who was the lady who modeled for Snow White. She also worked on characters like the Blue Fairy and Pinocchio, and she did some ballet for Fantasia. She recalled early sessions where they had her wear a football helmet to represent Snow's enlarged cranium and run through a clothesline simulating tree branches.
Oh, wow.
She said, quote, "The head of a cartoon figure is always larger in proportion to the body than a human head is, and they didn't want to have to make this adjustment when they were sketching with the film. They were going to take whatever they wanted to do. It was a very primitive set with extremely warm lights, and my head couldn't breathe, and they found out they didn't need it anyway.
Oh my god, I would be so mad.
Yeah.
She was
But
the
this was, like-
original Funko Pop.
No, Betty Boop was the original Funko
Yeah,
Pop.
you're right.
But that's who they were initially emulating for Snow White. They wanted her to be more like a Fleischer beauty instead of a Disney beauty, because they hadn't really figured that out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything else? Do you guys have anything that you wanted to share about this sequence? Or
Well, I mean, I really liked how they talked about it, and it wasn't just idea. Okay, that works. Idea. Okay, that works. It was like, well, no. How about what if we do this? Like the shadow, when they were like saying, oh, we could just cast the shadow to make it more foreboding, and then it's like, no, well, I feel like we should see some of his intent in his eyes. So I liked that process, and it wasn't like, that's dumb, don't do that. It was more like, oh, you know what, that does work,
Yeah.
and then let's add that. And it was the creative process.
What do you think of increasing the size of the trees all the way through the woods and reduce her size and keep her getting smaller and smaller?
Yes, that would be good. The wind comes in as a sort of final thing. It increases the tempo.
As she runs into the clearing, we cut to very fast flashes of trees and faces accentuated by a chord in the music. It could be a powerful climax. Then, cut back to her as she faints.
Just those 2 minutes or 1 minute of footage, how much went into it, and then the subtleties of like, okay, he's gonna be standing over here, and then but in the same shot, and then we're gonna make it dark because you already know what he has to do, but now it's like an obvious, like, oh, he's like just standing there, like almost dreading, like, I'm gonna have to do this. So
and then
just
you cut to her and she's like,
yeah,
I have to turn around,
yeah.
but why?
I think it's really cool.
Oh my god!
I think it's really cool that they actually have, like, they had a stenographer type out what was being discussed in these meetings. Because when we've researched the films that we've researched, we read about, like, well, Walt wanted this and Walt wanted that. So when I imagine these meetings, in my mind, it's just Walt standing there with the storyboards that he had somebody draw for him, and he's just telling everyone what's going to happen, how it's going to be. So this was interesting because he sets the tone for what he wants and what the movie is going to be, what the scene is going to be, how the characters are going to be, but he accepts input. And a lot of times that's what makes these movies so great, is somebody had this awesome idea that Walt would have never thought of. And it's just like the back and forth that makes the film more interesting. And again, I had just never thought, obviously we read about different names and directors and the animators that provide,
and we saw the reluctant dragon.
Exactly. But again, in my mind, just from reading, I guess, through research, I'm just like, oh, Walt was like the one and only person creating this, but that's definitely not true.
That's the trap that a lot of podcasters fall into.
Yeah, no, it's like something I really, like, we hear a lot about, like, even people in interviews. Walt was this, Walt was that, he was this, he said this, whatever, and then you kind of get the perspective of, like you said, oh, he's just there. Okay, guys, so this is what we're gonna do. You do this, you do that. Just listen to what I'm telling you. But a good leader, it doesn't necessarily have to be the best at everything, but they're able to get the people who are the best at things and, like, conduct them. So
I think that's why they like the animators specifically. I think that's why they were lost after his death, because not because they didn't have great ideas or weren't talented enough or creative enough. I think they didn't have that energy, or, like you said, like a conductor that kind of placed everything where it needed to go. I think that's why they were lost. It was all the pieces were there. They just didn't know how to put the puzzle together.
Yeah, and in that little, what we're listening to Walt take input and actually go through with the input. So he, when he said about the shadow, and then they were like, no, well, how about we do this? And he wasn't like, no, I feel we should. He heard that and was like, you know what, you're right, that is a good idea, and allowed it was more about what's right instead of like who's right. And then until you see that,
or he said something like, make her say something cute to the bird. Like, he didn't give them word for word what the script should be. Like,
he's like, that's up for you to figure out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's the whole, like, hire people who know how to do the job, and then let them do the job. But yeah, like you said, afterwards, you can see, we've been reviewing the movies, you can see the shift after he left. Yeah, so it's a kind of poetic, because he loved trains. Like a conductor,
I like trains.
But like a conductor, right?
Yeah.
So, but also like in a symphony, like he left, and they're like, okay, well, we know how to play the instruments, but we need somebody to like go higher, go lower, and you felt that
to modulate.
Yeah. So it was really interesting to see it actually happen, because unless you see what we saw in that little clip, you might think, like I did, oh, it's just Walt just standing there, like he has great ideas, but it's just him going, okay, you do this, you do that, I won't take any input because I know better.
Or here's the book, copy it. There was so much more going on backstage.
Yeah, I don't know if you would ever hear him say that.
Right?
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, so my favorite part of it was...
that was the case with, like, the Jungle Book, at least. He was like, have you read the book? Great. Don't read it. We're going to do something entirely different.
Yeah, no, so my favorite part of it was the creative process of it. That was my favorite, watching the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, I could have been extra generous and given you guys PDFs of the full documents, but I didn't think we had, like, I didn't, I mean, I have to leave something for myself. I mean, I can at some point.
Yeah.
We can talk about Snow White again sometime.
Well, I was going to say, I'm assuming are you going to do a review of the live action one? Giving your thoughts?
I mean, I think I've got a guest set up.
Okay.
Against my better judgment, but Frankie Sparks from Shoot the Flick. I think we're going to do something together.
Yeah.
She's going to watch me have a breakdown.
I can't wait. I'm sorry.
No!
No, I'm hoping that you're going to love it. I hope we're all wrong. And that the remake is actually decent and different from the original, so that we don't compare it as much, but I don't think
I'll have enough champagne to fill the Nile.
No, I'm so I can't wait to hear that, because I would be pleasantly surprised, because like my expectations for it aren't that high. So if it doesn't pass my expectations, then it's bad, because they're not that high already. So if I go in, I'm like, oh, that wasn't that good, and I really didn't think it was gonna be that good. Snow White to me is one of my favorite Disney movies. So I was burned out with the Lion King live action.
Yeah.
Because I was with them. I was with them up until the Lion King. I was excited. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, we got Snow White. We got Cinderella. You got Beauty and the Beast. You got these movies coming out, and then people were like, why? But I'm just like, I just want to see the performances of like live action, and how maybe they change some stuff or add new songs, kind of thing. But as soon as the Lion King is my favorite Disney animated movie, and then I saw it, and I was disappointed. And ever since then, I'm like,
you were almost like mad.
I was mad.
The theater.
I was mad. Yeah, I was mad.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, they didn't do it justice at all. Yeah. So ever since then, I'm like, I don't need to see any.
Although we're getting Mufasa soon.
That one looks interesting. I'm actually really interested in Mufasa, because I haven't seen that story.
But again, we're more interested in the story, not necessarily how it visually. So might still be disappointing.
Yeah, I will never get over how I uploaded my Beauty and the Beast review, the 2017 one, the day, hours before Sean Bailey, who is the head of their live action division,
Mm-hmm.
publicly announced his resignation.
You're like, well, that's great.
I was like, what a day. Perfect timing.
No, but you know what's interesting? Like, you know how people put the remake of The Lion King in live action? It's not live action.
No.
It's animated.
Yeah,
it's just
that's
realistic animation, but it's animated. So it's not, it's still an animated movie. So why that one? Why even?
Why even? Exactly.
Yeah, that one. Why even?
Why even?
Yeah, the voices, I guess, but still, I mean, you still got, you still got Mufasa. It's the same, So I don't know. Just leave it alone.
He was already kicking ass in 1994. Why do you need it in 2019?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll say this, and I'll stop talking about it. The best part of The Lion King was the trailers. That's it.
They didn't even give Beyonce enough to do.
No.
Yeah, I don't even.
She sang Spirit off screen.
Yeah.
You can't do that to Beyonce.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, I don't remember the movie very well, but
They had that song playing as he ran across the desert.
Yeah,
The Pride Lands.
Yeah. But it was just, again, it was almost like a gimmick. Like, all these are kind of gimmicks, because it's like, oh, watch the same movie, but look who's the princess. It's played by, like Emma Watson. So it's like, cool. You like her, right, from Harry Potter? So
you like a Hermione that sings, right?
Right? Like, it's all like kind of like, oh, who's gonna play this? Because they always make a big deal of like, who's voicing this character, who's voicing that character.
You like Lily James in Downton Abbey. Well, watch her in Cinderella, directed by Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, you see, so it's I feel like it's, I mean, it's all, I feel like a gimmick, but with The Lion King, it was really like, there's no live. It's just the voices. There's no live. There's no reason to watch it. I feel, just leave it alone. Anyways, let's go back to Snow White.
Yeah, I have a feeling we've spent a good amount of time talking about The Lion King more than Snow White.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I will definitely reserve a spot for you guys when that comes around.
Yes.
Let's see, I guess. Any other tidbits? Actually, Adriana Caselotti does not do her own screaming in this scene.
Oh.
Okay.
No, they had a radio actress named Thelma Hubbard come in and do that for her. She actually voiced Snow White in some radio adaptations.
Oh,
After
okay.
the movie came out. But, yeah. It's funny. Her vocal performance in this movie is kind of like a patchwork quilt. Because most of it is Adriana, but then you have Thelma and Virginia Davis, who was Walt's first Alice back in the 20s.
Mm.
She auditioned to be the voice of Snow White, and you can hear her in the scene where she's like going around the dwarf's cottage for the first time.
Oh, okay.
It's especially noticeable because all the dialogue in that scene kind of goes in like a rhythmic verse type thing, and that was really early on in production, but she's in there.
Interesting. Imagine she came in, the actress that did the screaming. What are you in for today? Just screaming.
Yeah, just screaming. I mean, she could sing too.
Yeah.
But they didn't need that service from her. I think she even did Minnie for a couple of shorts.
Oh.
But yeah, I guess my final take on this sequence is that I'm learning that there are different things in each sequence that I'm really appreciating, and I'm trying to like make it coalesce into why I like this movie as a whole. And in this one, I think it's that I can see the split takeaways that children and adults are supposed to have when watching it. So it's like kids, like they're literally like, oh my gosh, Snow White, is she going to make it out okay? I hope the queen doesn't get her. But I think the grown-ups are supposed to recall their own experiences with adolescence and being like the anxieties that come with being recognized as like a young man, woman, non-binary person. Hairs growing where they weren't before, voice changes, height increases, all all these things that can overwhelm the vulnerable child.
Or even it like makes you think about a moment where your life might have completely shifted. Like that one moment that something just changed and caused you to just think completely differently. And like
or you started sounding different.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very true. When you're little, or, you know, whoever saw this when they were little, they probably just saw, oh no, like poor Snow White, like escape, you know? And then someone watching it, like our age, would have been like, oh man, like would have gone past that and been like, oh no, like now she's on the run, and now like her whole world has like shifted and stuff like that. And for a kid, it's just like, oh no, just like the initial, like just get out of there.
Yeah, there's
Her
more
dress.
empathy as an adult.
Yeah,
Her dress is getting ripped and muddy. That was my concern as a kid.
Yeah. Her hair is getting wet, and yet it's perfectly coiffed in the next scene.
Yeah. Her red lipstick is still perfect. Or I guess she wouldn't be wearing lipstick. It's just her natural beauty.
Her natural Cupid's bow.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but watching the sequence, something else that like it triggered like one of those irrational fears that I've had before. You know, they mentioned that the things weren't really alive. You know, which is panicking. So they mentioned that like, if her clothes got caught on like branches, to her it looked like they're pulling her. But
like hands, yeah.
Yeah, but she was just pulling away, and then it looked like they were, you know, like yeah, they were trying to pull her back. And I've had that happen to me, that I'll bump up against something like in the middle of the night, or something will pull. I'm like, oh my god, what the hell was that? And then or if you see like a bug somewhere, and then you feel something like lint or something on your neck from her shirt,
and you're like, oh my god, it's on me.
Yeah. They got that like, you know, like that's real. That's real. If you're ever out in nature and something, you know, it's getting dark, and then something pulls on you, and you're like, oh my god, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
So yeah,
you're in survival mode.
Yeah, the fight or flight. Yeah, that's what that was. But again, going back to when you were a kid, oh, there's monsters and stuff like that. And as a you know, maybe I didn't get it, but maybe somebody our age would be like, I know what that means. I know that she's just like panicking. Yeah, I didn't get it actually. I thought they were actually coming to life. And then
you thought the forest was enchanted.
Well, I mean, it's a magical, you know, Disney.
Yeah.
Right, so.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
I just think that it's all wrapped up in a metaphor.
Yeah.
And leading into that, I was just thinking, like, in relation to those fears that, you know, children develop in adolescence, it's like, I feel like what Disney does throughout is it introduces that fear to Snow White. And as we'll see in the next few sequences, they then have her surrounded by really supportive friends and caretakers as she makes that transition into womanhood. However dated their ideal might be.
Is there a story out there, or a documentary or a video that goes into maybe the dwarfs weren't real?
No, and I do not want to explore that idea.
Because I'm like, what if she just loses?
That's on the level of like, what if she died at the end?
Oh yeah, I've heard that theory.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know, dark theory, I guess.
Yeah. What if everyone wasn't real? What if she just died? What if like that's Happy Halloween, everyone.
Well, I mean, like most of these, right? These like fairy tales have like grim endings, or like the movie, like for example, a spoiler, I guess, for a book that was written many years ago, Pinocchio, how he killed Jiminy Cricket in the original novel.
Yeah,
he squashed it because he's like, I don't want, like his conscience, like I don't want to listen to you, and he killed him.
But then he came back as a ghost.
Well, I mean, I guess, but he did the initial murder. You know, he did the initial defiance of I don't want to listen to you. But obviously, in the movie, he just like kicks him or something.
Does he?
Well, I mean,
he gets trampled on a few times, but it's not Pinocchio's fault.
Yeah. I don't think he like kicks him, but first he says like he kind of like just like walks away from him. But I do remember Jiminy like you said, like being like stepped on or whatever, but he didn't die, and like how he got killed in the novel. So again, it's more cartoony.
I just remember a screwball in the corner pocket. You know, playing pool.
Oh yeah. see right there, he would see right there. If it was like that dark version, he would have died right there.
Yeah.
But I guess
Christina, you blanking?
No, I'm thinking about the scene, and I'm just thinking about how they didn't want. It was almost like death was taboo, where even when Pinocchio in the end, quote unquote, dies because he's a puppet, but he's barely dead in the movie. They didn't want to show that, so
no.
Yeah, they would have never done that to Jiminy Cricket.
But you know what Disney does though? Disney doesn't flat out kill. Well, they do, but not like, but you know, like not like how we like I'm seeing in a novel how we like squish them and stuff like that. But you see, there's enough visual, I guess like horror there, like when Pinocchio just washes up shore, face down, and you know, like you don't have to see him dismembered or anything, but you're like, oh, he's dead, oh, he died. There's that visual for you know, for kids.
Yeah. In the documentary podcast that you shared with us, I did think, again, it's Halloween season. It was really morbid when they started describing how didn't they like get her like just like take her eyeballs or something crazy like that? They were explaining
that she said, "Bring me her eyeballs." I think that's what the Queen said. Like,
was that in one version?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yes.
Was it the one where they said she seduced a kitchen boy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
she convinced him to murder
and I'll marry
her.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So see, that's more of like, don't bring me her heart. Like
that's more. Well, I guess they're both evil, but that's a really
like if she has like blue eyes or something, or like a specific like I know what her eyes look like. Like bring me her eyes, then I can confirm that you know that you killed her. That's when she gets tricked because she says a heart, and then they bring her. What is it? Like
the boar's heart, and she bites into it, and
and she eats it.
Yeah. Like as morbid as these sound, like I really want to read these.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to a lot of true crime, and it freaks me out, but I'm like, I'm interested to see how crazy it got in these stories and how different it is from the Disney version.
Well, I guess you'll have to check out the Brothers Grimm and Giambattista Basile.
Yes.
Those are your two guys. Yeah. Your three guys, excuse me.
I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah. Charles Perrault, that it wouldn't do a lot for you.
No.
He's the nice one.
Oh, okay.
He's the one that's like, oh, fairy godmothers in glass slippers.
Yeah.
Not birds pecking out your eyes at the wedding. Yeah. Well, I guess she does get overwhelmed and collapse down to the ground and cries. And we reach the end of the sequence.
Yeah.
So, I guess we can get to my final question, which is, how do you think Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs influenced how the Walt Disney Studios produces films to this day? And you can't say that it influenced them to make more.
I feel that they really struck a chord with the fairy tale aspect of it. How after that you start seeing like the princesses and how that's like their biggest, like one of their biggest like money, like they get a lot from that. They got kingdoms and nowadays when I think of like castles, every time I think of a castle or a princess, one of my first things is a Disney princess. And that's why you have some weddings they have them at Disney because it's like
for $25,000.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna again, if you like Disney and you love Disney and you want to be a princess, you don't. At least I haven't seen people say, "Oh, I want to go to England and get married over there because I want to be a princess." No, I want to be a Disney princess. And so that's how I feel. That whole fairy tale, even saying fairy tale. Oh, like a Disney movie. Oh, we want to be a princess. Oh, like a Disney princess.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how they went, and that's why it's a big deal. Like Moana coming out. Every so often when a new Disney princess comes out, it's not just. Even now they have so many, and it's still like, oh, they're coming out with a new Disney princess. It's still not like a redundant thing. Like, oh, duh. Like they're just coming out with another one. At least every time that I've seen that, they're always excited. Everybody's excited when a new princess comes out. No one's ever, oh, who cares? Like just another one that I've seen.
I mean, it might just be me being cynical after doing this for 2 years, but I do feel like when you say it like that, the way they mean it is like, I want to have this commodified American archetypal take on something European, like European fantasy.
Yeah.
I want to be the pretty girl at the prom in the nice ball gown and stuff, instead of like, why the hell wouldn't you get married in Europe?
I know, right?
I mean, aside from the expenses, of course. But yeah.
I think that Snow White maybe set up a template for Disney in the way that they make their films. Specifically, probably like the princess films, they have to have, obviously, the beautiful, intelligent, kind princess, and then they build from there. They need the comedic relief, whether that's a chicken, whatever. They
A mouse.
have to have a mouse. They have to have the prince, however much of a character, however much involved he is in the storyline, whether he's Prince Charming or whether he's
I like Philip.
Kristoff.
Or he's Prince Buckethead, or
Buckethead,
a plank of cardboard.
And then obviously the villain that has to be hating on them, and then they have to have some sort of musical quality. Like, I don't know, I think they just set up this template that I feel in recent years they've been trying to stray away from. And in some ways it works, and in others it doesn't so much. Like, I think we mentioned this in a previous episode with you, how Disney just doesn't want to do like a love story anymore.
Yes. That was in relation to Wish.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, well, why not? If it's going to be a good story and it's going to build a good character and be relatable in some way, why not? So I think that's one way that they've kind of tried to stray away from this template that hasn't really worked. But I think that that's kind of what they've built with Snow White, is like a template, and they kind of just fill in whatever else they need. And as time goes on, it doesn't work as much, because it's kind of like the ink is wasting away. Like, they need to go back and figure out what from this template actually worked, not just like fill in the blanks.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't in answering my question, but in going to your point, I'm of two minds about it, because I'm like, I would have loved for them to have done that in Wish, and then I would have wanted them to like start off the new century by formulating a new identity. You know, I think after this long, I would love for them to try something different.
Yeah.
It's just that different doesn't sell these days like it used to.
Yeah.
Like, I would still love another Fantasia. I know you guys wouldn't, but like...
We haven't gotten to Fantasia 2000. We've never seen it, so we'll see.
It might change my mind.
Yeah. We might be enlightened.
See. We'll see. But for me, I I think my appreciation for Disney really starts with those first 5 movies. And I think they're all very, like, deceptively simple in terms of their storytelling, in terms of the way their themes, in terms of even their musical influences. Like, people do not give them enough credit for the classical influences that they pull from, or like the contemporary influences, like jazz, swing, show tunes, stuff like that. But what I really am getting at is that there is a quality in those 5, Snow White in particular, that I have not felt in anything they put out since 1942. And it does have to do with what I was trying to push near the end of the episode of, like, that psychological fears that children have that adults can recall. And it kind of goes to what Joey was saying in our last episode, where it's like, if it doesn't appeal to adults, then it's not a good kids movie.
Yeah.
And I think that Snow White and those other movies have a quality that we are complaining about with these new movies. I just don't know who else could bring that back.
I mean, right now, we're kind of getting, at least from my personal opinion, we're getting that from Pixar. With, like, things like Inside Out 2, like, talking about, like, anxiety and growing up and fitting in a new, like, social environment and what it means to, like, come of age kind of thing. And the animation's really good, and it's more based on symbolic things and, like, the story. So yeah, at least that's my opinion, that we're getting it from Pixar right now. Even though they did have, like, a little, like, three movies that were like Lightyear,
completely.
yeah.
I think Lightyear was their attempt at just making.
It was the Lion King, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's what I see it. Like, have you seen the recent Inside Out 2?
No, but I've heard that it's gotten the best reviews of anything they've put out in several years.
Yeah.
Also, it beat Frozen 2 at the box office.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the #1 animated movie ever, right now. Currently, yeah.
Wow.
And it beat. If you look it up on IMDb and stuff, or on the Rotten Tomatoes and all that stuff, it beat The Lion King for best animated movie, the remake.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's a great honor for any animated movie, but man, to go toe to toe with that one.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's really good, and I feel like that's what I feel like that's where we're getting it from right now. I can't really remember the last Disney animated movie that I really liked, like loved, like, oh, that was a really good movie.
I could
walking
see,
out of it.
I guess, Encanto with its storyline, but I
was
think that film is more complex. It's not necessarily, like, children are not going to understand that generational struggle. Like a 5-year-old is going to be like, oh, she's pretty because her dress is made out of flowers, but they're not going to get the depth of it, I guess.
Or if they do, then it's just going to be from, like, Mirabelle's perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to see all the dominoes go into effect. Yeah. They're not going to be like, "Oh, abuela, what's your deal?"
Yeah, but like so like right now we have Moana 2 coming out, right?
Yes.
And then from what I know, what's like the new thing that Disney's putting out?
Zootopia 2.
Zootopia 2.
No, like the new thing.
Like
not a sequel.
Yeah, there's nothing coming up.
Well, no, okay. Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch is what I saw. Yeah, you're right. Nothing. That's really sad.
Yep. Hope you're all ready for that Bambi remake with Casey Musgraves doing the music.
Oh, really?
I love Casey Musgraves, but no.
Damn it. See, this is how they get you. This is how they get you, because I love Casey Musgraves. And I got excited for a second, but then I'm like, no. this is how they get people to go, because they go, oh, well, this person's doing the song and this person's doing the voice, so they go watch it again, and then you watch it and you're disappointed. And
I'm probably going to buy the soundtrack.
yeah.
Yeah, it's probably going to be beautiful. The film, I don't know.
Well, look, so like the way the Bambi ends, I didn't like it. But up until then, I really liked it. So if they change the ending, then I might really like it.
I mean, I liked Casey Musgraves and Frozen. Is it Frozen 2?
Frozen 2, yeah.
Yeah, Frozen
that
2.
Song.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty. So I guess I am looking forward to the soundtrack, like you mentioned, but not so much the movie.
Yeah. And on that note, that concludes this chapter on Disney Reel to Reel. I'll buy the soundtrack. Man, I was hoping that this would be like a little bit like into the spookies, but I think we did like a pretty good job at analyzing what happens.
Well, I mean, like I guess like the spookies comes in really in my opinion, two things. One of them, the forest, because that one, they have this thing in Oogie Boogie Bash that's called
Villain's Grove.
Villain's Grove.
Yeah.
So they could have like just a section of like, like the eyes popping out and stuff like that.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, that scene, and honestly, one still of when you see the eyes of the Huntsman, that close up in the shadow, but how they're always glowing, with like that murder intent.
They could have used some props from the Dark Ride.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You see, like,
hey, that ride is scary. That ride is scary.
And I'm sad I didn't get to go on it.
Oh, you didn't?
They closed that one at Disney World? Yeah. Mm.
Oh, what? I didn't know.
Well,
that.
Actually, no. I went on the one at Disney World, but
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the Disneyland one changed a little bit. It's more like about the end part of the ride. I mean, the witch is still scary when she pops up, but not as much anymore.
Now we can't see any more skeletons in the basement.
Oh, yeah.
That I think when we watched the movie, that was, talk about subtlety, but like, what the hell was that? When she passes by somebody who
Snow White's dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that true? Because that was our
confirmed?
theory.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
But I like to imagine that it is.
Yeah, that's what
I don't like to. But like,
well,
that's your best guess.
Yes.
Well, honestly, between that and when she's in her like dungeon, I feel like that's where you get like the horror from in Snow White. Mm-hmm. Because that whole scene, I mean, I know we're not talking about this scene, but when her hair starts turning gray and stuff, and it's like twirling, so
I'm excited for when you get to that.
Yeah. I'm
cool.
so.
I mean, honestly, the whole movie is awesome. But yeah. We love a villain.
Yas, queen. But yes. So where can people find you guys and your wonderful laid-back show?
At Disneyland.
We wish we were
next
at
to the
Disneyland
churro
all the
cart.
time. But
churro cart.
So our little podcast is When You Wish Upon a Podcast. You can find us on pretty much any podcasting platform, and as well as Instagram and TikTok. We try to share on there as much as we can, but life gets in the way, and then you have to come up with a caption, so sometimes it's hard. But you can follow us at When Letter You Wish Upon a Podcast.
Excellent. But as for me, y'all can find us at Disreel to Real Podcast on Instagram. Any emails can be sent to disneyreeltoreal@gmail.com. Also, the podcast episodes are up on YouTube, and I will link those in the show notes. But, any final thoughts before we close out?
I love Snow White. She was my favorite Disney princess, but I love the movie, and I'm not sure if I'm going to watch the remake. That's it.
Splendid. Christina?
Go watch Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the original Disney animated version. Just go watch it. It's just a good movie to rewatch every now and then, and remember how beautiful it is as a film.
Yeah. Someday my prince will come.
Well, you can't just say it. You gotta sing it, or else it's not gonna happen.
I've sung it so many times, and it's not working.
Wait, but were you by a well?
I don't think that one requires an echo.
I mean, it might help.
Were you wearing your clogs?
I mean, I might have had my sneakers styled for the day, but I don't think that counts. My clothes were in good condition. They weren't in rags. But, yeah. Couldn't end it better myself. Have a magical day, everybody.